How's it going, guys? Aaron from PhoneDog.com here, and we've been waiting and waiting and waiting, and the device that some call the best Android device ever is finally in the house. The Samsung Galaxy S2 is here. It was announced at Mobile World Congress in Barcelona. It's not quite available in the States yet, but you can get it through those online specialty retailers like Exynos USA. Now, the downside is it's a pretty lofty $800 without a contract. You're buying it completely unsubsidized. You're buying a UK version. They've got that nice markup on it as a result of it not being available in the States. So it's pretty penny if you want to buy it. Say that 3 times fast. If you want to buy it and bring it into the States. Not available from a carrier just yet, though the rumors are that in the summer it's going to be available from at least 3 of the 4 major US carriers, or 3 total if the AT&T T-Mobile merger goes through. But here it is, 1.2 gigahertz dual-core processor, 4.3-inch Super AMOLED Plus display, 8-megapixel camera, front-facing camera, Android 2.3 Gingerbread with TouchWiz 4.0, and a super fast device that's thin as well. Is it the best Android phone? Are there better US alternatives? Is it worth the $800? We're going to find out that and more in the full review. But first, special thanks to our friends at Best Buy. They're hooking us up with things like Thunderbolts, Sidekick 4Gs, and hopefully, if this ever comes to the States, they could hook us up with those too for use on One Paw Bandit game. When we go into Best Buy Mobile, you don't have to deal with rebates. You walk out the door paying the after rebate price, which is super cool. So thanks to them for putting those phones in the One Paw Bandit game. But enough of that, let's get into it. Full review, Samsung Galaxy S2, is this the phone to have? We're gonna find out. So here it is, we've been waiting and waiting and waiting, and hopefully it'll come to the US at some point in the next couple of months. The Samsung Galaxy S2, available in certain parts of Europe right now, but it's a lofty $800, somewhere around $750 to $800 if you wanna bring it into the US. Why is that? Well, it's not available in the US yet, so these specialty online retailers like Exynos USA, these retailers that have extensive connections across Europe and some of the other markets, can get these devices. What they'll do, they'll get them, they'll mark them up, and they'll sell them for $649, $699, $700, $800. So you're looking at a pretty lofty, about $800 with tax and with shipping if you want this device. So it's pricey, and it's one of those things. I'll go ahead and spoil the review for you. It's by far the best Android device, in my opinion, on the market right now, by far. I mean, it blows even the G2X, which was previously what I believe to be the best on the market. It blows it out of the water. Now, the downside is, again, it's very expensive. So is it worth buying this, or is it worth going with a US version, something that a carrier can subsidize like the G2? But anyway, that's not the point of the review, but still something to keep in mind. The price is, excuse me, a little bit much on the Galaxy S2. But anyway, 1.2 gigahertz dual-core Exynos processor. Now, the rumor is, or I don't know if it's necessarily a rumor, but depending on which region it is, it can be a different dual-core processor. It could be a Tegra 2, or it could be an Exynos. But this one is an Exynos processor, 1.2 gigahertz dual-core, 4.3-inch Super AMOLED display, which, it looks and feels very similar to the Infuse 4G, and there are going to be a lot of comparisons just because when this one came out, it was kind of a new design for Samsung, but then the Infuse came out in the States in between, the SGS2 coming, and, by the time, between when it was launched and when it came. So it's a little bit different in terms of size just because of the display, but overall, the aesthetics are pretty similar. But you can see a nice boxy design, 8.49 millimeters thick. It's a very thin device, 8-megapixel camera with a flash in the back, 3.5 millimeter headphone jack on the top. You've got your volume rocker over here and your micro USB charging port on the bottom, power button over there on the right. So very minimalistic in terms of design, no physical camera button, which you may love, you may hate. And I talk about this in every single video, but I like to have a physical button. But that front-facing camera for the video calls or for the Facebook or MySpace pictures. Do people even use MySpace? I say that in a lot of videos, and I watch the comments, and they're like, we don't use MySpace anymore. Stop saying that. But you know what? For the 5 people out there in the world that still do, this goes out to you. The 1.3 megapixel front-facing camera is capable of doing, obviously, video chats and things like that. So it's a well-equipped device, and it's awesome and it's very fast. Again, the camera doesn't really show this off the way it should show it off, but the 4.3-inch Super AMOLED Plus display is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, one of the best I've ever seen on a smartphone. I mean, the blacks are incredibly black. You can see this background I have right now, just incredibly beautiful and very vibrant. All the icons look great, and you can just see the speed of this device when I load up the app drawer. You can see when I scroll from side to side, I mean, no lag whatsoever in anything. I mean, just incredibly fast and smooth and good looking. Now, I want to spend a lot of time on the software on this device because not only is it running Android 2.3 out of the box, but it's also running Samsung's TouchWiz 4.0. It's the first Samsung device to run TouchWiz 4.0. And really, if you didn't like TouchWiz 3.0, I didn't care for it in comparison to maybe a Sense or a toned down version of Moto Blur, it's definitely worth looking at. This is now a close second to me. They've really refined it. They went back to the drawing board, made it a lot better, and it's just a tremendous improvement. You can see it across the board in a lot of things where I'd sit down with TouchWiz 3.0 on the Infuse, for example, and say, why didn't they include that in? What's included on TouchWiz 4.0, I find that a lot of my frustrations with the older versions are answered in this. But let's spend some time in the software. First of all, you see some differences in the notifications bar here. A little bit of a different color scheme. Kind of goes along with gingerbread and that darker color to preserve the battery life. Since it is a Super AMOLED Plus display, preserve battery life and more. It's 1650 milliamp hour battery life, by the way. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later and probably in part 2. But I've been overall, very impressed with the battery life. But you can see that's what it looks like. A little bit of a different color scheme, but you can see some icon differences here in TouchWiz 4.0. And you can see when I open it up and go into the app drawer, you can see some minor differences there. No more boxes around it. No more iPhone-esque boxes. You can see 3.0 in comparison, just to get an idea of the difference there. They've gone back to icons. Now they still scroll from left to right, like iOS. But the boxes are gone. It's a little bit more clean. You don't get that kind of boxy thing down here. The icons are separate and by themselves. So like I said, very fluid, and you can see those changes there. Now what's really cool about this device, or about TouchWiz 4.0, the customization. I think they went back to the drawing board, realized that they could do so much more in terms of customization with these devices, and that's one thing that makes it really cool. For example, let's go into wallpaper, and you'll see instead of bringing up that boring, and I know this isn't a dogfight, but I'm just comparing 3.0 to 4.0 to show you the differences. Bring it up, that's the old 3.0 look. It's kind of based on stock Android, and it just pops up with widgets, kind of a bland, choose widgets. Now here's what pops up on this, or same thing with wallpapers as well. We'll go in here, click on wallpaper, and you can see it brings up the 3 things. Well, it's down here at the bottom now, and you see how the home screen kind of pulls itself out, and you can still scroll while you're up here. So just, really, really fluid. I can't underscore that enough. You really have to play with it. And that's the really unfortunate thing, is because you have to buy it if you want to play with it, because it's not available in the US. But a little bit different here. So let's go into wallpaper gallery, for example. And here's where it's pretty much the same. You can see some of the stock wallpapers that come with it. Maybe I'm the only person that likes to see the wallpaper that comes with the device, but that's just me. So you can see the ones that come with this version of the Galaxy S2 at least. And then let's go into widgets. Same concept here. Press and hold, and it brings up this bottom screen here. We'll go into widgets. Now this is what I really like. You can see it brings up, and everything's so fast, no lag. But it brings up the thing here at the bottom, a little carousel at the bottom, and you'll see when I scroll, watch how the icons shift to respond to my touch. You can see how they kind of shift over as they're going out. They kind of shift out backwards. And you can see just very fluid, very easy, and just much better looking to me as opposed to the stock Android, or what TouchWiz 3.0 was running, the stock Android look. It's just clean, and it overall looks great. You still get some similar features like the pinch, to bring in the various home screens. But you can just see that dual-core processor at work, because it is very, very fast. And you can see how when the screens spin out, just the fact that there's no lag whatsoever. So some of the many differences in TouchWiz 4.0, you can go to settings and take a look here. Just things, I'm just bringing them up as I think of them. Some settings differences, power saving mode. You'll see motion. This one has some unique motion controls in the browser and some other places. We'll go in here. You can see you can turn it over where you can mute incoming calls. So if somebody's calling me, I just flip it over, and it mutes the call. I can tilt it, I can pan it out, double tap, do things like that, and then you have some tutorials on how to use that. So for example, tilt, I can hold it 2 points like it's saying here, and shift forward like that. I actually need to turn on auto rotation while I'm thinking about it for you guys. So that's what you can do. So we can try, let's use motion, let's activate it. Let's get it loaded up here, so we can see some of the differences. All this available on TouchWiz 4.0. Oh, whoa, that's cool. So you can see, press and hold and bring in that picture. Zoom it out, or we can bring it back in. And you can just see, again, if this was a single core device, or even maybe a low-end dual-core device, you might see some lag. I haven't seen any lag during my use with this. That's incredibly fast to render and work with graphics like that. And I've just been incredibly impressed with it. So that's what that is. And actually, let's go ahead and turn off motion activation. Actually, I take that back. I'm going to leave it on because I'm going to show it to you in the browser. So we'll do that in just a second. Actually, let's do that right now. Let's go into the internet and take a look here at our site, phonedog.com. And you can use this in the browser as well. So wait for that to load up. It is an HSPA Plus device. It works, just so you know, on AT&T's 3G and 4G bands. Does not work on T-Mobile. Does not support the AWS band. which is 1700 megahertz in the States. So if you use it, or if you're using it on T-Mobile, you're going to be stuck on edge at max, whereas with AT&T you do take advantage. And it's pretty interesting because this actually shows when you're on an AT&T 4G cell site and when you're on an AT&T 3G cell site, it shows 3G as opposed to H+. H+ means, you know, it's running HSPA plus. And then let me go over here and cancel this out real quick. Let's see here. Bam, bam. Let's get my hand on the arrow here. Let's see. Wait for that to load up. But anyway, H+ gives you the ability to see which cell sites are 4G, because, you know, AT&T really hasn't released their 4G, which areas are 4G and which ones aren't. It can be specific towers or more. Let's refresh that to get rid of that. And those, actually, you know, I get this a lot. For those of you that are browsing on your phone, you're always welcome to go to m.phonedog.com. That's m.phonedog.com, and it'll bring up a mobile-friendly version of the site. So keep that in mind. But here it is, full site. And you can see, I mean, pinch to zoom is just incredibly smooth. There's a little bit of checkerboarding here and there, but I don't see it, you know, regularly. And you can just see how fluid it is when I zoom in and zoom, or when I pinch to zoom in, pinch to zoom out. There's no stuttering. It's almost like, you know, it's following the fluidity of my fingers. You can see just how quick and easy it is. And then let's try this. There we go. So there it is. Let's zoom it out and let's hold and bring it in. And you can see the difference in the browser. Now, it's kind of hard to do in the browser because obviously it's zooming into the center part of the site, whereas you don't have the ability. I guess you could scroll over and maybe do it here. There we go. Okay. So you can see there's some functionality to that. It's not something I've actually used in the time that I've worked with it. So, you know, you may use it, you may not use it, but I can turn that back off. You can always leave that the motion stuff off if you want to. But anyway, just the screen, I mean, it's not doing it justice. Let me get it up close to the camera just so you can see the Super AMOLED, how it works with the colors on the site. Just absolutely beautiful. And down here at the bottom, it's pretty interesting because we're used to our 4 capacitive buttons, our home, back, menu, and search. Whereas, you know, this is a very European version. This is very similar to the original Galaxy S with a physical home button. You have your menu button over here, and then you have your back button. Windows over here. Browser is very friendly in terms of the way it looks. I can open up a new window. And this is something I've always liked about TouchWiz and some of the user interfaces as opposed to just stock Android. It's very fluid, very clean, and looks good. But I think you can tell just by scrolling through little things, like scrolling back and forth between these pages, you can just tell the raw speed this has. I mean, there's no lag whatsoever. And the TouchWiz 4.0 improvements are just incredibly impressive. One other huge improvement to TouchWiz 4.0, you know, like I said before, lies in customizations. Well, they've done something cool with the messaging app as well. They've really customized it in 4.0 and made it to where you can choose how you want it to look. This was always something that I was kind of frustrated me in 3.0. I never understood why they didn't allow for customization. You know, it's kind of similar to iOS with those little chat bubbles. Well, you know, depending on which Samsung Galaxy S device you had, or you know, TouchWiz variant you had, it could be a different color scheme. For example, the Droid Charge is espresso-based color scheme, kind of brown, whereas the Infuse is, if I remember right, blue and orange. You know, so but you were stuck with that one theme. Well, on TouchWiz 4.0, you can change it. So you see, I can have this dark mono theme over here, and this is a test text message, and I'm going to show you the keyboards as well. It comes with 2 keyboards, the Samsung keypad and swipe as well. And this is the Samsung keypad that I have open here. And you can see, you know, I've never been a fan of the Samsung keypad. This is a big improvement over past versions of the keypad. It seems to be a little bit more accurate to me. The Quick Brown Fox, well, I say that and screw up on the, let's see here, Quick Brown, that's not working out, Quick. So you can see, this is the frustration if you don't get it exactly right. It's happy it is Wednesday. So the Quick Brown Fox is happy it is Wednesday. You know, if you don't get it exactly right, it screws up, and you either have to turn it all on or turn it all off. There's no nice middle ground where it looks for good work. I just feel like the auto correction is very funky on this device, and I don't like how it fills in the word. Like when you start something, it automatically fills in. You know, if you do, let's say Oklahoma, it automatically fills it in. I don't like that. That kind of frustrates me. I don't like something predicting what I'm going to say before I actually say it. But you may like that. But that's the Samsung keypad. Then it comes with swipe out of the box. I've installed the Gingerbread keyboard, which is available for free and for 99 cents in the Android market. And there's some good alternatives as well. And not only that, you can sideload applications on this device. So if you find a particular keyboard, that's not right. How are you doing? If you find a particular keyboard you like the Droid X keyboard or the Droid 2 keyboard, or let's say Moto Blur, you could pre-install that or you could install that on the device rather. So swipe is here if that's your thing, and then in 4.3 inches, or because it's 4.3 inch display, it's very clean, very easy to use, and it's very wide. So for those people like myself with larger thumbs, easier to type in landscape as opposed to portrait, and there's plenty of screen real estate to do so. But to go back to this, let's say you wanted to change the theme, you don't like the theme. This is what's really cool, and I have to pull it away here for a sec, sorry. Let me go to settings so you can see. You have a lot of customization options out of the box. Not only can you change the skin, but you can also change the font size, and through another screen you can actually change the font as well and download new fonts off the internet. Now I know some, like the Vibrant I think had that, and the Galaxy S4G, if I remember right, has that capability. But they just really enhanced and improved upon it, like the font size can be changed. And then here's what I really like, the fact that I can change the messaging skin. And I'm hoping that in the future they'll have some sort of Samsung store where it'll enable, where I can go on like htcsense.com and download my own skins if they have some sort of store available where there's 20 or 30 to choose from. But you can see blue, brown, evergreen, joy pop, mono, which is what it's on, and then evergreen. So if I want to set that skin, I can go back and I can show you what it looks like over here. So it's just cool to have that ability to customize and change some of the skins. I've been using this as my personal device for a couple of days, so all kinds of personal text messages are on here, so that's why I keep pulling it away. But just cool to have that customization ability, and it's one more thing that makes TouchWiz 4.0 competitive with HTC Sense and some of the other manufacturer installed overlays.